Hello.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Jen,
I'm Kimberly, and
and
this
this
is
is
our
that Vegan Morning Show. It's fun saying it at the same time.
It is. I really like it. How are
So, how
you
was
today?
your weekend?
My weekend was great. I went to the New Jersey Veg Fest or Vegan Food Fest, depending on who you ask, and it was wonderful. I went with my parents. My mom is vegan too, so she was pretty psyched about being able to be in a place where everything was vegan. And my dad came along, and he was a good sport. Hey, Diane, just
Hi,
talking about
Danielle.
our Saturday together. Good morning. And then,
Good
hey,
morning,
Dominic,
Dominic.
welcome. Thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from. Feel free to post your comments, your questions, anything while the conversation's going on. We're happy to have you be part of that with us. Um,
Absolutely. Oh, here is our guest.
yeah. Fantastic. All right.
So, yes, we do have a special guest coming up who just popped on. So, we're going to bring him on in a moment. But Kimberly, yeah, that sounds really, really great. You sent me some amazing looking food pictures.
Yeah, and I'll share those later via Instagram so that everybody can enjoy all of the food photos. And I also met an artist named Lisette. I can't remember the name of her business, but I'll be sure to plug it in the Instagram post. And she was absolutely wonderful. I went a little crazy in her little shop, but I loved her art. And she's also a big Mets fan. So we had that connection in addition to veganism. And it was just a really wonderful, wonderful afternoon.
That sounds amazing. That sounds like a really great time. I love looking at shops and art and all those fun things. So that sounds like a really great weekend.
Yeah, it was. How was yours?
Well, I drove very far to pick up my son from college, and he was playing in the commencement ceremony. So I had to like wait a little bit, and then we had to load up the car with everything in his dorm that wasn't going into storage and drove all the way back home. So that was an adventure. I also got a chance to see a friend along the way, and yeah, it was a pretty good. And then yesterday, I just kind of recovered from driving very far.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much what I was up to in a quick summary.
Nice. I'm trying to figure out, and maybe Jen, you can check too. Oh, here we go. We
Oh,
can see you now, Adam. Okay. So,
yay!
yeah,
So we're
because
gonna bring our special guest on.
yes, because I also want to know, what did Adam do this weekend? So,
Yes.
Adam, we'll bring you to the stage now. Oh,
Hey,
Hi.
Adam.
What's
Welcome.
going on, you guys?
how
Thank you
are
for
you?
joining us on our show.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
Got your yerba mate ready to go?
Oh, yes, that was essential.
I love it. So we were just talking about our weekend. Adam, what did you do this weekend?
Well, goodness. So yesterday I taught like a vegan Korean fried chicken sandwich making workshop
Ooh.
online on the World Wide Web. And it was really freaking good. Like, I don't normally eat a whole lot of seitan, but I ate in like one fell swoop, like one and a half of those sandwiches because I think like one of the yummiest things I've ever made. They were really good.
You've made a lot of yummy things.
Try. Sometimes I don't hit the mark. My wife and kids will tell you I've dished out some lame things over the years in addition to all the good things you guys get. So yeah.
Well, sometimes you've got to do the stinkers, right, in order to get to the good stuff.
Yes. Yes. So
We
I've
actually really know
achieved
that from our creative endeavors.
yes, I've achieved many a stinker. But I try to share the things that don't stink and suck, and that's what I did. I know I did other stuff this weekend. Joey, what else did we do this weekend? I know my wife and daughters went to the Vegan Food Festival in Asbury Park, but I was teaching that class yesterday.
Nice. I was there on Saturday.
Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, golly, that was right near my house. You should stop by for a high five.
Next time I will.
Yeah. I did do some dog park tra la la and yippity skippity, and that was very nice. I have like 4 dogs, and you guys know I have a wallaby who's actually like right there right now. You can't see him, but I like to take my dogs to the dog park because they're like super active dogs. What I have, they're like all border collies, and we have an Aussie, and they need a run. So yeah, that's what's going on. No long drives for me. Thank you.
By the way, on the long drive, my
Mhm.
son, he wants to he's going to be 20 in November. So he wants to, he's tried vegan before and he hasn't stuck with it, but he wants to try again. So he was looking up recipes. So I told him to check out your website and he saved
Okay.
like 4 or 5 recipes to
Oh,
try
sweet.
this summer.
Yay! That's awesome. Yeah. So part of what I've been doing too is I gave myself like a kind of preposterous goal. I have like a lot. I'm kind of into like setting goals for myself, and this year I was like, I want to publish 250 brand new recipes this year.
Ooh.
So I've been pumping out like 5 a week to do that, which is really a crazy pace. Like I don't know if you've looked at those blog posts in depth. A lot goes into them. It's not just like the recipe. There's like step-by-step photos and pictures of all the ingredients and writing about like, if you can't get this special ingredient, what to use in place of it. So it's a big undertaking. And that takes me like almost the whole week. I mean, in addition to all the other things I'm doing, like this week I have a tasting for a wedding I'm doing, a bunch of other stuff, but it takes a good like 40 to 50 hours a week just publishing those recipes every week. And they're like free, they're like things you guys get to just Google whatever and you can make it for free. It's nice.
Yeah, the artwork is beautiful and just the layout of everything is beautiful. And there's a couple things I wanted to bring up. But first of all, can you tell us a little bit more about your wallaby Doyle?
Yeah, dude, I wish he didn't just hop out of this room because I'd pick him up and like show you him. Though he kind of hates that, to be totally honest. But yeah, my wife and kids have been like really into wildlife rehab stuff and animal rescue stuff forever, and they had been doing sugar gliders because sugar gliders are like sold as like an impulse buy item at malls in the South. Like they'll have like a kiosk where you buy these like, if you don't know what sugar gliders are, they're like these cute little like flying squirrel looking creatures with big beady eyes. And they're adorable looking, but they really require like very demanding care and like a very demanding complicated diet that like you really need to like study what the heck you're doing to keep them alive. And so people buy these things and then just like dump them, like they'll be like a kid's birthday present for like 45 minutes and then like it's just too hard to deal with. Or like one of them dies and like if they don't have company they start to like self-mutilate. They're really complicated creatures anyway. So they're marsupials, and my wife was like doing a lot of like fostering and rehoming of them, and I guess through that network of her like being in the marsupial galaxy, she found out about Doyle, who Doyle is wallabies in general. They're in the United States because people eat them. And they're like sold as like kangaroo burgers and stuff. I think maybe like Outback Steakhouse was making burgers out of them for a while. And some like animal education center had rescued Doyle's mom and dad. And like he was just a wee little like tadpole in the mom's pouch at the time. And they didn't have room for like a third wallaby. So we came to know about it like through the grapevine, and I don't know what we were thinking, but we were like, sure, we'll take them, whatever. So, we have like a big backyard and a doggy door. So he comes and goes as he pleases, but he's like living with a wild animal. Like he's a fluffy guy, but he will like take a dump on the floor and stuff. It is like rabbit poop or big rabbit poop. It's not like the foulest, nastiest poop somebody could make on your floor. Like I'd rather have him doing that than like you guys in particular. No offense. No offense. But yeah, so he's just like a big weird roommate who like, and he's like a wild man. Like he'll never like know his own name and come when you call him and stuff like that. My wife says that's not true. He speaks English in the shadows. But yeah, so he's like living with the small kangaroo. No big deal. That's it.
You know what I think is so interesting is that I would bet that when you tell stories about Doyle, people who are not vegan are horrified to find out that places in the US are selling kangaroo meat, wallaby meat, and never once think the same thing about the cow.
Yeah, every time. You're absolutely right. I always tell people, oh, people eat them, and people are like shocked. And I'm like, to me, it's not like any weirder than people eating like cows and chicken and fish and whatever. Like, so, I mean, it sucks, but it doesn't suck more than, that huge industrial like supply chain of dead bodies people eat. So,
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, that it's very painful when and that's one of the things as vegans, right? Like we're always seeing animals differently, and people have the cognitive dissociation between like a chicken and other animals, and you're also eating an animal, but it's so conditioned in mainstream society that it's okay to eat this and it's a food, and people lose the connection that this food is also a being.
Yeah, I mean, part of it's just that people don't get to be around all those animals a lot. For me, right at the cusp of my going vegan, my wife was vegan long before I was. And right around the time I went vegan, she had brought me to the farm sanctuary in Watkins Glen. And just like to get to be around those creatures, like even if you're not being educated about anything about them, like it's so clear they are like loving creatures who have feelings and a soul and all these things we like try to tell ourselves are not part of the reality to justify eating animals. And it was definitely like a turning point for me. Ultimately, like I made that decision when our daughter was born, but that was definitely like a big tipping point towards it. And I mean, as like a city boy, I didn't like really grow up around goats and all this stuff. And man, now I'm like obsessed with goats. I got to do a culinary consulting job for somebody in the south of France. And it was so awesome. Like I got flown out to France and got to create all these recipes for their food business they were launching. And the house they had me set up in was like right next to their like big pen of rescued goats they had. So every day I would like go in there in the morning for my goat therapy and like just sit and do my meditation, and they'd like come like nibble up my beard a little or whatever. And it was heaven, man. Like I could totally get down with living with goats. They're the sweetest. They're like dogs but weird or something. They're great.
I love it. Wow, that's great that you got to travel to France to have that opportunity.
Yeah, that was great.
You have such amazing food. I feel like you're such a big pioneer for vegan cuisine. And I recently watched your tofu class.
Oh, sweet.
And yeah, and I haven't had a chance to make some of the things yet, but I know Kimberly has. And we wanted to ask you more about it because tofu is, people don't realize just how amazing tofu is.
Yes, it's I don't when I went vegan, it was not the first thing I was excited to learn how to cook. And I mean, especially because at the time I went vegan, it was like right on the tail end of like what I would only describe as like the cobweb covered, like stale old health food store salad bar era of vegan cooking, where like everything was pretty bland and not textured and um, just really not exciting. Like I really think like macrobiotic cooking had a big impact on like mainstream vegan cooking for a long time. And it, macrobiotics is like it's fine if you're like recovering from cancer or something, but it's like a very bland way to eat and certainly not going to be like the thing you share with your closed-minded uncle that makes him accept that veganism could be awesome or something. Like it, it's fine, it's healthy food, I guess, but it's anyway. So I came into being vegan like kind of feeling that stigma about tofu. But once you have it enough really yummy ways, and my wife, by the way, is like absolutely addicted to tofu. Like probably tofu, potatoes, and chocolate are like most of her food pyramid.
I love it.
It's real with her. So yeah, like not only do I cook a lot of tofu because I really like my wife, but I've really had to like explore every possibility with the textures you can get out of tofu. And it's really quite versatile, like kind of in the way coconut is super versatile. Like you can turn coconut into coconut oil or coconut milk or coconut flour and do like so many different things with it. Like same is the case for soy and especially tofu. Like there's mad varieties of tofu and each of them kind of can be used and can perform different tricks. Yeah.
I recently, just a few days ago, soaked tofu in hot water with baking soda and some cornstarch, and for like 5 minutes. It was firm tofu, and then put it in the oven, and it got this after like 20 minutes. It had this like little like coating around it where you cut it in half. It was almost like an air bubble inside, but the inside was super creamy. The outside was really nicely textured and crispy. And it almost had like a weird egg-like flavor to it. It was so cool. I'd never made it like that before.
Yeah, that's like a very less processed version of what Burger King used to do with their French fries for a while. I don't know if any of you guys ate at a Burger King in like the mid 90s or something, but for a while they were doing these French fries that were like they seemed almost like they were batter fried, but they had just been like they'd basically been like brined in a solution with chemicals like kind of that perform like baking soda and like other starches and stuff, and that's what gives them that like crusty, almost batter fried kind of exterior. But yeah, that's a popular thing to do before baking or air frying tofu. It's like an easy way to make the outside extra cool.
That sounds interesting. I've never heard of doing that, Kimberly.
I saw it on Instagram. I will admit, it was not me being an incredible chef in the kitchen going, how can I make?
That's a big piece of like, I mean, not just cooking, but really like creativity in general is like you're standing on the shoulders of giants. Like, I don't think any of us are like the first one to think of doing something with tofu or, painting in a certain medium or something like that. Like there's a degree, I wouldn't call it like plagiarism. I would call it like being inspired. I mean, unless you're doing some plagiarism, like unless I'm stealing somebody's recipe and just publishing it and be like, I did it. But yeah, there's a important degree of like learning by seeing, oh, that's like a really cool idea. Let me like try my spin on it. And I think that's like a really important thing to recognize, especially like for anyone who's listening who might be like a culinary professional. Don't feel weird about that. That's life.
Mhm.
Like you don't have to be like God in the kitchen where just like magical new things come out of you all the time. Like it can be like your interpretation of things that already exist, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's life.
Yeah.
Agreed. I agree. Yeah, I love watching. I have like a huge cookbook collection, and I just like to look at the photos and recipes sometimes just for inspiration to then do my own variation of things. Um, One of the things I learned from your class is the difference between soft tofu and silken tofu, because I always thought silken tofu was soft tofu. And then when you explained the differences, I was like, oh, there's a difference.
Yeah. I mean, that was for some reason for years something like I never really learned why they performed differently. And yeah, silken tofu, like if you notice, it's like sometimes kind of even hard to get out of those little like Tetra packs they come in.
Mhm.
And it's because it's like shaped and formed right in those, rather than like being made with varying amounts of pressing. Like regular tofu is like it's the same tofu, but it's pressed for longer if you want it firmer and firmer and firmer. But silken tofu has like it's not pressed at all, but it has varying amounts of like whatever coagulant is used to like set it up. Um, and then it's just like poured usually right into the thing that it's sold out of. But yeah, it functions kind of differently because it's not undergone pressing. It has like the same amount of water in it, no matter what.
And I feel
Sorry, it's getting like
oh,
super bright over here. The sun is like really coming up over here on the side of my kitchen. So
you have a nice glow.
yeah, it's I promise I don't have really bad acne here that I'm hiding with this lighting effect I've done on purpose.
Kimberly, you've made the tofu katsu, you told me, right? You
Yeah.
said it was really, really good.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
And my review is one of them in the when you click on the tofu class, if you want to read what other people thought, mine is there too.
Oh, that's right. You did write a review for that one. I forgot, Kim. Thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
that's right.
I loved that class, and the tofu katsu. I loved all of the recipes within that class, but that one, because I felt like I was like involved in it. It's you have to start pressing the night before, and the tofu gets like really thin, and you freeze it and you press it and you freeze it and you press it, and the texture. I'd never had tofu of
It's
that.
kind of crazy. Like for years, like the only way I knew of freezing tofu was like just taking a regular firm or extra firm block and throwing it in the freezer, and it
Mhm.
gets like really spongy on you.
Yeah.
And I always thought, why would anybody want to do this? Like, I mean, I guess it could absorb a grill marinade better, but it kind of makes it real particly. And like, I don't think that texture is awesome in particular. And then I started pressing and freezing soft tofu, not firm or extra firm tofu. And it's crazy, like how flaky and layered and like kind of meat like it becomes. Really great in like chickeny things and also in like fishy type of things because it really has that layered kind of flaky texture.
Yeah.
It's quite a nice little trick to have up your sleeve.
And what you were just saying about textures and flavors, right? That's really like people don't need animals to enjoy the textures and flavors that they love.
Totally.
And that because that's really what it is. It's not the animal, it's really this whatever seasoning or marinade and then the texture of the food that people are really enjoying.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, it's a lot of things. And honestly, like people can adapt to eating just normal, a bowl of lentils and some greens and that's fine. Like that to me, that's like the end game. Like I don't think we should have to eat in a complicated, super fussy kind of way. Like I think it's what my body craves after years and years of being vegan now is like, I like dark leafy greens a lot. Like, to me, that's the real meat of the vegan diet. Like, I just want to eat a big ass like pan of like sauteed kale or broccoli with some like, chili crisp on it or whatever, But to get to that point, most people who have like grown up eating the standard American diet do need to find some way to like transition from like the eating habits they have and like what they psychologically expect from a meal and stuff. And so being able to get those textures without having to rely on like super processed ingredients that like makes the food potentially not great for you or not nourishing for you, I think is a really important like step in that process. Like, it's like why for years I sold donuts. Like I don't really want people eating deep fried dough all that much. I did just make some donuts a couple days ago for somebody. But ultimately it's like the gateway drug. Like if your closed-minded uncle who hates vegan food, or so they say, has never eaten vegan food, like chances are like a raw pizza is not going to be the thing that like makes them, I love a good raw pizza, don't get me wrong. But like for that person, they might need a really good, like vegan donut or an apple fritter or something like really like kind of fucked up. And for them, like that's the thing that makes them be like, whoa, vegan food can be really good. And then like, like a couple months later, then they're going to be eating that tofu katsu or something. And it's kind of like how you get people to be a little bit more open-minded. But yeah, I'm not saying like everybody's like me, but for me, like I want to personally eat simpler, more normal, more just like nourishing food that doesn't require me to clean my whole kitchen up afterwards. And that's just what's practical for me, But yeah, so that's what I got to say about
One of my favorite things about all of those recipes that you've been putting out is how you take us around the world.
Yes.
And and in the descriptions too, like there's something to be learned about the culture that the food is pulled from, or an ingredient that maybe we've never heard before. And like you said, if there's like hard to find ingredients, you do offer different substitutions for that. But it's really fun to discover all of the different flavors that someone who kind of was raised on standard American diet, kind of really, American food is, I think, pretty simple and not as flavorful maybe as some of the other cultures around the world. And
well,
so
I like to think people are always like, oh, going vegan, that's going to like really limit what I can eat and whatever.
right?
And I always think like, dude, you eat like chicken and rice and pasta. Like I eat everything on the planet. Like it can be so liberating and such a like good excuse of a reason to be like, hey, I want to get really flavorful with the food I prepare. Like, let me see what else is out there. Like, so many cultures have come up with like brilliant ways of cooking veggies or combining rice and beans or whatever in different ways that are like so satisfying and delicious. And that like if you grew up in one place and not trying all the foods from all around the world, like maybe you had no idea like turkey has a totally different spin on lentil soup or whatever that you'll love. So partially because I've done a lot of traveling and living in other countries, I really like to on the blog particularly like show off really like traditional methods of cooking different things, because I think it's I think it's really interesting, and B, I think it's also like, man, some of these methods are really becoming lost to time as more and more of the world starts to eat the same and starts to have junk food marketed to them and stuff. And like I don't want to see some of these things become like a forgotten kind of undocumented culinary art. So I've put a lot of effort into really like the research of like traditional cooking methods and stuff not to like appropriate them, but to like help keep them alive by some small means on my part.
I love that.
Me too. I became a much more exciting cook being vegan because I learned about all these different like spices, and like I never made Indian food before until I started getting curious about vegan food and discovering these recipes. And so it's a great way to learn about other cultures and just learning about what's possible with food as well,
No,
because there's so many possibilities.
People have some great ideas all around the world, and yeah, it's nice to be able to like, many of the recipes I write for my blog are not like veganized versions of things. They happen to be things that are already vegan in cooking styles from all around the world. In some cases, it's like, all right, I could do this recipe with like olive oil instead of clarified butter, and then it's vegan. But it's not like a huge reworking of it where I'm like, I gotta make up a vegetarian salmon now. It's nothing like too crazy. And I really enjoy it because the whole process of it, in addition to being great for you guys, like it constantly pushes my own personal boundaries of cooking and learning. So I mean, that's something I really love about the culinary profession in general is, if you have an open mind, you're like constantly learning fun new things, and it's a really good thing to do. Just keep on learning. That's what I always say.
Definitely. And people can continue their learning with you, right? You have a cooking university that people can join.
True. Yeah. So I have this I have this vegan university program. I started teaching in culinary schools before the pandemic, some year, maybe 10 years or something before the pandemic. And then when the pandemic hit and I like had to close down my food trucks and restaurants and stuff, after like a year, I was like, man, I should like just start teaching cooking online, because everybody was still cooped up at home, myself included. And so I started teaching these like kind of live streamed cooking classes, and they were really well received. So after I did it for like maybe a year or something, and then I was like, man, like I can keep like teaching a different topic every month. This is like awesome, but what should I do with all these like recorded classes from every month I've been doing? And then so I kind of like put it together as this massive library of, now it's going on 4 years or something of classes that I've taught. And so this vegan university program, what it is every month I teach a different topic. It could be something seasonal, like a holiday class for Thanksgiving I do every year, or like a Mother's Day brunch, kind of cook along with me and get your Mother's Day brunch prep. Or it can be like deep dives into different topics. Like, yesterday's class was this vegan Korean fried chicken sandwich thing. And then we have like a donuts from all around the world class coming up, and an Indonesian barbecue class coming up. And anyway, in addition to like the monthly live stream classes, we do like a weekly, very casual kind of office hours sesh where the whole community comes together. And what's really cool is it's students from all around the world. There's people really from all over the planet, and it's a great community, like where I might share a recipe for like, I remember I shared this recipe for like my vegan panna cotta. It's like an Italian kind of custardy dessert. And one of our members in Hawaii made it with like vanilla beans he grew from like orchids on his property.
Wow.
And he was sharing about it. So we have this whole like community. And then people who are in that program, in addition to like the monthly live classes, there's this massive library now of every class I've taught on every possible topic that you can just kind of watch on demand. And there's a whole like kind of learning roadmap we're setting up about it, because it's a lot of stuff, but it's really all geared with like one real goal in mind. And the goal is not just like that we become better cooks, because I mean that's great, but that's kind of to me, that's like not that important. What's more important is like what you do with that, which is, really about helping to spread vegan food to people in your life who are not yet quite open-minded enough to love vegan food, and really get them to finally turn vegan or become at least much more open-minded to vegan food. So we're all kind of working at it from that intention of like, let's make better vegan food, but let's like share that with our coworkers and our families and like actually get them to be like, whoa, I had no idea this could be like banging. So that's kind of the whole idea of that program. And it's nice, man. Like after teaching in culinary schools, like that is an expensive way to learn, like going to culinary school. And it's not really practical for most home cooks, like you really got to take a lot of time out of your life to go to culinary school. And this is very much like the opposite. It's super affordable in comparison to any kind of classes like that. And it's very self-paced. Like some people show up to all of the classes. Some people just show up to some of them and kind of like watch them demo style rather than cook along. And then we have tons of members who are like traveling all over the world. They're like musicians or they travel for work a lot, and they'll like kind of log out of it for like a month and then like come back in and like chain smoke 10 classes when they want to or whatever. And it's nice because it makes it really practical to become a better vegan cook, and more so to become like an effective vegan cook at like spreading veganism. And to me, that's like the ultimate kind of activism that's gonna prevent animals from being made to suffer more than any kind of like going to a protest or any, if you get other people to actually be super open-minded to how delicious vegan food is, like they start to make the connections about why you might not want to be eating animals themselves. And rather than like having it preached to them or something, I think it makes for much more like long-lasting impact in people's lives. So that's why I've kind of dug in my heels to like publishing so many recipes and putting so much effort into this, is because I really feel like doing the food trucks and restaurants, like it's really effective at helping people to stop eating animals for the rest of their life. So that's what it's about.
Agreed. That's the best way.
Yeah. Speaking of food trucks, I believe that the Red Bank Farmers Market has reopened.
Yeah.
Will you find Galactic Mega Stallion there this summer?
So it's a kind of, you're actually the first people I've talked to about this publicly. That's a very like secretive, weird project. For those of you guys who don't know, I had this popular food truck, the Cinnamon Snail, before the pandemic. And then during the pandemic, like after a year or two, I was like, man, I really like miss cooking for people in real life. Like teaching people online is great, but like I love the like action of that like line cooking experience and getting to like see people really enjoy the food and talk to my customers. Like I love the whole vibe of that. So, but I really also didn't want to get myself into something like the Cinnamon Snail ever again. Like I do not want to have 65 plus full-time employees to deal with ever again in my life. Like that's a nightmare to me. I like cooking vegan food. I don't like doing HR and having to give somebody a write-up because they were late again or what, like I'm just not about that, being a boss thing. So I wanted to devise this new thing, and I wanted it to be a lot of the things that the Cinnamon Snail never was. Like one of the other things I didn't like very much about the Cinnamon Snail was that, once it became super popular, like I couldn't change that much about it at all without people being really mad. Like I couldn't change it from being like this donuts and sandwiches thing anymore. Like I could change some of the sandwiches. I would get some heat if I like took this guy's favorite one off or these people's favorite one off. So I had to really like play with maybe 5% of the menu I could change up at any given time. which became very like creatively stifling for me, kind of boring, to be honest, like just doing the same thing all the time. And so this new thing I devised, Galactic Mega Stallion, I purposefully designed to be pretty small, both physically, like I can't fit more than 3 people on that thing, myself included. And I intentionally like didn't do marketing for it in the same way that would attract a lot of attention, because I wanted to keep it small enough that I could do it with my younger daughter helping me. And that's pretty much it. Like we have a guy who comes and helps clean at the end of the day, though I do a lot of the cleaning too. Like I bust out the power washer and I'm like, filtering the fryer oil and stuff. So anyway, the whole deal with Galactic Mega Stallion is that every year it has a different theme, like a different style I riff on for that year's kind of theme. And then within that year's theme, every single week is a 100% different menu, like riffing off of that year's theme. And so it keeps it like hyper creatively challenging for me. Like every week I have to explore different nuances or whatever of that year's style. Like the first year it was all like Turkish and Middle Eastern food. The second year was all like Malaysian and Indonesian food. And it's also like very like small platey, very pretty stuff that is small intentionally so that I can charge very, very little for it. Like last year we didn't have a single menu item that was like over $10. And it was all like very beautiful stuff. And you could afford to get like a few different things and have this really beautiful, nice little meal. And the way we operate it also is kind of like this pop-up like outdoor restaurant rather than it being like a food truck vibe. Like we bring tables and chairs and a canopy. And I tried to make it like very pretty, like we had like custom planters built that we have Tulsi growing in. And I just tried to make it like a kind of very different, like more elegant vibe for an outdoor mobile food thing. Now, to answer your question finally about where is it now, dear Adam? Because it's farmer's market o'clock and like I haven't seen anything about it yet. So the problem this year is that my daughter is traveling for a lot of the summer. She's away for all of June on like, she's going to be on the West Coast. She's going to be camping down in Assateague with my wife for a while. That's like the Pony Islands. You guys know about Pony Island, right?
No.
Yeah, you only know about Coney Island.
True, we do know about Coney Island.
All about Coney Island.
Island it's like this barrier island off the coast of, I think, Maryland and Virginia or something. That's like the myth is that there was like some taxation thing back in the day where you got taxed based on how many horses you owned or something. So people would like put their horses on this island to like do tax evasion or something. And that over time, the horses like adapted to the kind of like treacherous environment on this barrier island. And it's this like island now of all these like short, stubby, like bristly looking ponies everywhere. And they're like kind of aggressive ponies. It's kind of wild. But people like go camp out there with the ponies. It's not really my vibe though. It's like camping in a big ass parking lot on the beach type of thing, and ponies come up and raid your cooler or whatever. But it's kind of neat. Pony Island. Anyway, so they're there, and then my daughter is going to be in France, and then like working as an au pair for somebody in Spain. A friend of ours, actually the guy who designed the whole like wrap for how the cinnamon snail truck used to look. He's like the artist behind that, and he has great kids, and she's going to be taking care of his kids for the summer. So there's really only like a couple months that she's around this summer, which makes it really hard for us to do like the thing weekly at the farmer's market with the Galactic Mega Stallion. Like I could go get some other employee, but that was like one of the things I really told myself I didn't want to do with this project. Like, I just don't want to be somebody's boss. And doing it with my daughter, like, I really look forward to that every week. It's like really nice bonding. And like, we get up early, it's a hustle and stuff, but we're like together for the whole day. And it's just great bonding time with my kid. So what I'm very much toying with the idea of doing it as like a once a month pop-up somewhere else, not at the Red Bank Farmers Market. I'm just in the process of like sorting out all the details about it this very week. So I can't tell you guys like, okay, on this date I will be here. And then it's going to be still a little bit elusive, which I like about it. So we have like a mailing list for the Galactic Mega Stallion. If you go to the pop-ups tab on my website, you can sign up for it, and that's where I send out updates about that. Sometimes I put them on social media too, but yeah, we'll just be doing like a once a month thing, and maybe even one or two of those I'll have to do with my older daughter instead of my younger daughter, because yeah, I'm still on the I don't really want to have employees tip. But yeah, that's what's going on with it. Yeah, I'm kind of bummed to not be at the farmers market, but on the other hand, it's like that's a massive undertaking as well. Like, and if I'm going to keep up with my classes and publishing 5 recipes a week, like creating a completely new menu and prepping all this stuff myself and being on that cart for the one day a week, I mean, that ends up being an easily over 40 hours endeavor every week to pull that off. And there are only so many hours in the week when you start adding up all the different things I do, because I'm still doing wedding catering, I'm still doing culinary consulting for other people's food businesses. And there's only so much of me to go around. And
when do you sleep?
Yeah.
I'm asleep right now, actually. This is AI. You're talking to AI, Adam. Yeah, I'm face down in my driveway in the front, just like hard sleeping it off for 15 minutes before the next thing. Yeah, I feel like I sleep a relative, like I guess I get like 6 hours a night or something. It's not tragically bad. It's not as bad as it once was. Like when I first started the Cinnamon Snail, I basically like never slept because I was getting up at midnight or 2 a.m. to make all of our donuts, and then I drive our food truck somewhere, Hoboken or whatever, work on the truck all day, get home and like clean the truck and do some prep, and then like maybe go to sleep for a couple hours and start it again. And I'm glad it's not like that anymore. I was like running on pure excitement at that time. Like I was just so psyched to be doing it. And I'm still kind of like that about a lot of things. Like I still try to get in like yoga and meditation, but otherwise like I get up and like make all this stuff happen. And I really love it. And I'm really like motivated by the feeling that it's like a matter of life and death for animals for me to create impactful stuff that's going to help people go vegan. So that's kind of makes it all like, I could get like a little less sleep to make that happen. That's not that big a deal.
I love that.
I love that too. And yeah, activism can happen in different ways. And I agree. Food seems to be the most effective way.
It's the most fun feeling way, in my opinion. Like I've explored all this stuff, but I'm not about like yelling at people or throwing paint on people or like, yeah, I just want to like help people go vegan in a way that actually makes them feel good and accepted and loved. And like, I feel like that's just a much more effective method, and it's more like joyful and like feels good to me. It doesn't feel like combative. It feels like, yeah, you'll figure out why we're going vegan, but just like eat this delicious thing. Like it's just, I feel like that it just feels nicer. So yeah, that's what I've kind of put my efforts into.
Very nice. Wow. We should probably wrap up in a couple of minutes. This has been such an incredible show, Adam. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come hang out on our little vegan morning show.
Yes, it's been a rootin' tootin' good way to start my day. You've got me caffeinated now. I'm ready to run through a brick wall to save a walrus or whatever, and we're ready to greet the brand new day.
Yeah.
Amazing. And we'll include the link when we'll have the replay up for this on our YouTube channel, and then we'll include the link to the cinnamon snail. Also, Kimberly and I had you on as a guest on our own podcast, so we can share the links to those as well for any viewers who want to go check out those amazing interviews.
Give these folks the link to that tofu class, because I don't know if we mentioned this, but that class is completely free. Like you could just take
we
that.
didn't mention that.
We did not mention that, so we will also include the link to that.
You may learn a thing or two.
I learned a few things, actually.
Yeah,
and there's some amazing sauces in there too that I can't wait to try out. That like the garlic sauce looked really, really good.
Yeah, pretty yummy.
Yeah, awesome. Kimberly, was there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up?
No, this was wonderful. Yeah, thank you, Adam, so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's delightful as always, and I bid you a marvelous week to come.
Sounds good. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Toodles.